All right. Hey, good afternoon, YouTube. Thanks for checking in. Just going to share some of the view real quick before we get started here. People to come in, check in, see what's going on. Hope everybody's having a good week. We're recovering from our government shutdown yet? That's the question. That seems to be pretty popular, right? What is next, right? But hey, I'm going to sit here and discuss real quick. I'm going to probably go through this pretty quick, but um, government shutdown. Now the propaganda is starting to get pretty thick. A couple articles out today with now we're coming upon it's going to be the longest government shutdown ever. The panic is starting to ensue. But what I plan to do, or what I suggest, observing this government shutdown really lets you know the full economic effects to expect, not only during a shutdown but during a collapse. If we're not in the middle of the collapse already. A couple articles I'll try to link below later. Sorry I didn't get them in before this, but just some of the economic impacts they're talking about, like the national parks having not only the loss of wages for the workers. Speak of the government, there goes the postal service. They're still rolling. So it's only a partial shutdown, right? But of course, the loss in tourist people coming to visit and stuff like that. And speaking of, there's another government person. That's a volunteer, though, apparently. But the economic impact that happens around park areas, that's all being reported on. But getting down in more into it, looking at it, the money that states require to function from the federal government, and well, ultimately the Federal Reserve, because the Treasury doesn't have any money unless it's recycled taxes back to you, right? But the example they throw out here in an article, Michigan requires 22 billion of the 57 billion state budget. That all comes from the federal government, grants, loans, whatever. Not loans, but it would be grants and stuff. Direct funding, DOT dollars. The list goes on and on, the ridiculousness. And you really want to see how bad a shape your states are in. Look at how much federal dollars they get that they use to operate. It's not that they... that's why, so many states can get by without raising taxes. Nevada not excluded. The ridiculous amount of funding they get straight from the teat of DC, which ultimately comes from the Federal Reserve, right? And all the shenanigans that are going on there. But a lot of things are funded through this year, except for really key things. And people have beat this horse to death about SNAP benefits and food stamps, stuff like that, coming to an end at the beginning of February. And that's going to be the real crux. So what we should be doing is observing who are you talking to that is on food stamps, that requires that type of assistance. Obviously, knowing who's on the payroll, if you will, who's on the payroll that is going to need or going to come asking for help. Maybe you can help them or not, but that's going to be the ultimate question. Who's going to go down first, right? If they haven't done any sort of preparation at all, who's going to come looking for help first in these type of events? I mean, ultimately, we're talking about federal layoffs and people having to get another job, right? Maybe it's time to get enterprising and start up our own business or something like that, right? As this thing drags on, and you get more and more into it. They're talking about HUD benefits, housing. You talk about having effects on the economy that are just so far-reaching. Nobody can comprehend it. I think, especially in in urban areas. Once again, it's going to be the biggest problems. But people won't be able to afford rent, so that means the landowners, property owners won't get their money, which they probably have allocated for some other bill, like their mortgage on that property, which is further influence and going to be late payments to the banks. And so it's this one big cycle. So it's not only the SNAP benefits that people starving that are going to motivate these people to unshut down the government, to stop the shutdown, but it's going to be the deep effects on the corporations and the banks that really is going to put the pressure on DC to open this thing back up, because they can't afford, the banks and others can't afford to take the hit that they're going to take should all these things come to pass moving forward into next month. But in the meantime, knowing what your exposure is to those elements, whether you live near a tourist area or you are employed by as a subsidiary, maybe you're a contractor doing contract work for the federal government, all kinds of stuff that could come to a halt real quick. Maybe you lease out property to somebody who works for the federal government, or they have you rent to them. That's going to come to an end pretty quick, things like that. Knowing where your exposure points are and how to deal with that should it come to pass is going to be very important, I think. And this is the time to learn that, as you just keeping the ear open. What are people talking about? Are people complaining they're going to miss out on something, or their mama's going to miss out on something? And if they're impacted, like even somebody coworker you work with has to support a family member because they're affected by it, because they're not getting paychecks coming in. Just this huge trickle down effect. It's really going to, if this comes to pass next month, really going to see a stark idea of how much Americans are willing to help each other. They had a number stat on here. In New Jersey alone, there are 730,000 food stamp recipients. Say what? That's just in New Jersey. I mean, you want to see food riots? Shut that source of income. Now, how much of that is fraud? We'll really get an idea how much food stamp fraud's out there when you turn the stuff off, right? But right now, the estimate is there's 420,000 federal employees working without pay, 380,000 on furlough. So there's significant impacts there. People aren't going to be buying things. People aren't going to be turning that economy like the Federal Reserve and the banks require to keep this thing afloat. We're not even a full month in. You figure the impacts are going to be felt regardless if they open back up or not. In the state of Maryland, there's 147,000 federal employees who live there by their statistics. They're expecting a big hit. All those things, if you live in a state like something like that, not only tax revenue, state services, your local businesses. How many local businesses can't afford not having that consumer input locally? Here we're next to the state capitol here. It's probably going to be a pretty far-ranging effect once that all trickles down. But we'll see. Just want to throw that out there. This is a good time to observe what you might be hearing or seeing with this government shutdown, and the economic impacts are going to be slight compared to what we might see in a collapse. I'll put the links below for further reference in the future. Who we got checking in here? Looks like we got a lot of people. My goodness. LS, Angel R, M Long, good afternoon. Cold in Kentucky, huh? Afternoon, Alicia. How you doing? Yeah, I kind of pan around to this side. Different before we cut out here. Kildale Survivals with us. Good afternoon. The government is shut down, right, Angel? Or you can't tell with a lot of the things they're doing because they're still oppressing and taxing and stuff. But all the wasteful money that's not getting spent that keeps the economy afloat, that really lets you know how much waste there is and mismanagement of everything with the way this is going forward, because it could have severe impacts that we're not ready for as a country, as a people, me and you, all of us included. Tammy Purdy. That's how I say Purdy. I don't know how you say it, but the human is our enemy, indeed. Frozen Fury. Hey, afternoon. How are you? Thanks for checking in. Anybody wants to check out some good online music, use it for your videos and stuff, go check out Frozen Fury. He does a lot of self-promoted music. He puts a lot of it out there free for use on the YouTube. Check him out. Rooster Cogburn's with us. Good afternoon. Oh, and also, well, I think actually, I think this is all state forest. I was going to say we're during this government shutdown, we can just roam across this BLM land, but I think this is all part of state national forest. I think we're at the, just over the hill from Lake Tahoe, and I think this is included in the state property that the state actually is willing to lay claim to instead of seceding to the federal government. But Angel R. Over 40 million Americans are on government food assistance, right, Angel? But don't even break out those big numbers. Look locally at what your local impact's going to be, is what I'm saying. Because those big national things, it's hard to personalize it. Break it down to what you're going to feel in your area. That's going to be really telling. And we all have those, but really understanding it is going to be huge, Billy Bird Outdoors joined us. Good afternoon. Who gets the food benefits? Your widowed mother-in-law applied and can't get more than $50 a month. Holy cow, that's not enough to feed anybody. Not nowadays. And they were, Prepper Princess was talking about the food benefit, the subsidies that go to farmers and how those get pulled, the price of food will go up. But that's also an opportunity for local farmers to get back in the market because they're going to be at a price point they can afford. They're going to be just as affordable as the big commercial stuff that gets all the subsidies. So that's something to think about. As people in the farming business, I got some goat and stuff ready. I'm from the hills, Tammy, so that's just the way we say it. No French pronunciations allowed. Right? That's $50 not even worth our time, right, LS? So as the government shutdown continues, it looks like we'll go through the weekend at least. Be prepared. Know what you're going to have to be preparing for. People starving is not going to be fun. Goat and stuff. Yes, Billy Bird, goat, pigs, all of it. So just a quick lunchtime check-in. Share those thoughts on this government shutdown and what to think about. You don't have to, don't panic, but definitely plan, observe, and know what's coming. Because if people get this hyped up about a small little government shutdown that isn't even affecting the whole government, just imagine in a real big scenario how quickly things are going to fall apart. And there's going to be a lot of people needing assistance and a lot of people looking all around for what they can scavenge. Don't be a victim as well. All right, y'all have a good day. We'll see you in the morning if I don't see you elsewhere on the YouTube. Thanks for checking in. Spread